Okay, another progress report. Kind of better, I think. Um, After a bit of fettling and messing about, I've got it running. I think the main issue was the timing was way out. I kind of marked the distributor and put it back as it was. I think maybe because I've done the cam bolt or whatever, but I think I put the distributor in cog wrong. Because to get it to run the best, I had to advance the timing all the way advanced, and it was sort of stopping on there just to get it started. So I took the distributor out and moved it round another cog. So when I've got adjustment, I've got movement either way, and I've kind of adjusted it to the point, because I can't get it running long enough. Adjusted it to the point where it kind of starts and dog legs a bit. It's not happy, so it's too advanced, and then I backed it off a bit, and it starts up sort of readily now. I've ordered a fuel pump relay because I believe that the relay, correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows any different, I believe the relay should sort of come on for a second and pump the fuel pump for a second, which gives you a squirt of fuel in the injectors, and then it shouldn't do anything until the engine's revving and it gets a signal from the rev counter. But mine just pumps all the time. So hence, if you're turning it over, if you try and start it, it struggles to start because it kind of floods itself. I did hydraulic lock it yesterday, just kicking. I was pressing the plate down, messing about to see if the injectors were working, and it kind of pumped loads of fuel in. I've changed the oil anyway, so don't worry about that. I know most people say, "Oh, you got to." I have changed the oil because it had got in the oil. So the state of play at the moment is it'll start. I mean, it smokes like buggery, but the amount of fuel I sort of pumped through it the other day and the amount of oil that was in the exhaust, I'm not surprised about that. It starts, the oil pressure's fine, no obvious leaks. It sort of revs up, sounds a little bit lumpy, sounds like it's missing to me. It sort of revs up, and you can just, if you tickle the throttle, you can make it sort of, it doesn't really tick over. You can sort of tickle it and just keep it above 1,000 revs. If you take your foot off, it just stops. I did think this auxiliary air warm-up thing, I believe that's meant to have a gap and then it moves across as it warms up. I thought if that was stuck, so I did take that pipe off to give it some more air, and it didn't really make any difference. And there was a gap in that. It had moved across. It did close up a bit, but it had moved across when it was cold, so there was enough air to get in. I've messed about with the idle screw a little bit, but that doesn't seem to do a vast amount. I played about with a mixture. I can't really adjust the mixture properly, just for the simple fact it doesn't tick over long enough. If I could keep it revving higher, then I could play about with the mixture, see if it made any difference, but I can't really. Same with the timing. If I could keep it ticking over, I could get a timing light on it and just check the timing. I don't think the timing's a mile out. It's enough to, even if it wasn't quite right, it would still tick over. It would just be a bit lumpy. So yeah, that's the state of play at the moment. I'm inclined to sort of start working my way through the injection side of it, because I mean, engine compression wise and stuff, I don't think there's any issue there because it's all been to bits and everything's new. New plugs. The leads, I have had my little diode tester that goes in between the lead and the plug and turned it over on all of them, and the leads seem to be sparking, etc. When I've pulled various leads off and put a plug in and earthed it out, it seems to spark on the plugs. And when it's higher up the revs, it does sound kind of, it's still a bit missy, but it sounds better. So I'm a bit lost really. I'm thinking kind of got to start working my way through the injection side of it. I've put a new fuel filter on. I'm just thinking if the fuel pump is not up to it and it's not giving enough pressure sort of on tick over. I would have thought it would work the other way around there. I would have thought it wouldn't want to rev up if the fuel pump was on its way out. Another possibility is the injectors. I have had one off on that side and sprayed it in a jar and pressed the float down, and it does seem to give a decent sort of squirt of fuel, but that's not the same as it running. And to check them all, I've got to take them all off, and I'm thinking maybe I should just bite the bullet and put a new set of injectors on it. I don't know really which way to go about it. I don't know whether to take the injectors out one by one. The problem is, to do that really, I've got to take them all out, because I can't press that. If I press that down, it will just fill the engine with fuel again with them all connected, which is what it did last time. So I'm going to do a bit of research tonight and a bit of Googling and stuff, but I can't see, when it's been the fuel pump, when I've had fuel pumps go on injection cars before, they tend to tick over fine, but then they won't rev up, because obviously they need, it needs more volume of fuel. I'm pretty sure there's no air leaks. All new gaskets, and the manifold ones, they were all pretty good. Not enough of it, I can't find any air leaks or any problem like that. I'm pretty sure I've got all the vacuum pipes on. I've done lots of Googling and looks at pictures and stuff about the air pipes and stuff. I did just swap round the vacuum and retard pipe on the distributor, just in case I'd got that wrong, but it's not. It's as I've sort of looked on pictures off the internet and stuff, and that didn't make any difference. It's kind of like, obviously, when you're opening the throttle and tickling the throttle, you're sucking the vacuum plate down at the back and you're giving it a bit more fuel. But if some of the injectors are clogged, it may be they'll only let fuel through when there's more pressure, or maybe they're sticking open. Maybe some of them aren't shutting off properly. Fuel pump wise, I don't think there's an issue with a fuel pump. I'm inclined to leave that. And the fact it sounds lumpy when it's revving up makes me think it's injectors. Could be the fuel distributor. I don't really want to get into rebuilding that, because you meant to have them calibrated and stuff. I could rebuild it for 60 odd quid with the gaskets and kit and stuff. Might end up doing that, but I'm just thinking maybe the best way to do it is sort of put injectors on it and then see what it does then. If that doesn't do the job, then strip the fuel distributor and clean that out. Kind of thought I'd probably end up working my way through the injection stuff anyway. On the plus side, the headlights go up and come on. One needs a new bulb, I think, but the headlights come up and go on when you switch the lights on, and everything seems to work. Electric windows, everything. Even the radio works. Electric windows are a bit slow, but they probably just want a bit of lubrication. But yeah, everything seemed to work electrical, which the guy said it did, so which is quite good. So I'm kind of making a bit of progress. I'm happy that the engine sounds okay. When it revs up, it sounds pretty sweet. I think it is missing a little bit, but more like, if it was anything else, I'd think it was a dodgy plug or something. But the plugs are new. The plugs are all new and clean. The leads aren't very old looking at them. And even if it was the leads, it would still tick over. It'd have to be quite a lot of the leads knackered for it to not tick over. It would tick over, but it'd be lumpy. But it's kind of, as soon as the revs drop, as soon as the throttle plate sort of shuts, it doesn't want to know. One thing I might investigate is the air screw. Whether there's a channel for the air screw, for the idle, which is down there. If that was blocked or something, it may be that it wouldn't get air. I might take that out and blow down that and make sure that I have washed all that out, but maybe if the air screw wasn't working right and it's not allowing it to get air, or that's all gunked up, it's not getting enough air and it's kind of flooding itself. It could be fuel or air, it's hard to tell. I'm inclined to think it's sort of fuel, because when I sort of tickle it, and when you're tickling the throttle, you're opening that plate a bit, which gives a boost to the injectors. As well, when it's starting, it starts better if you sort of flick the switch, give it a boost, make the injection pump come on. I put a bypass switch on that. I've got it running through the car, bit gash, but so I can check the spark and stuff without the injection pump running, because it pumps fuel in all the time. Obviously, if it was working properly, it wouldn't do. It would just do it for a second and that's it. But it continually pumping fuel in, so that's not a great look, really. I don't know whether that's the issue with the ticking over. I don't think it is, because reading, I spoke to a few people and they've said, no, it should, you know, when the ignition's on, obviously, and the pump's running, even with the throttle closed, it should squirt a little bit of fuel because obviously it's got to tick over. If it was squirting loads too much, then I would imagine it to rev sort of higher, so that you'd have a high idle, I would imagine. I don't know. A bit of an unknown, really. I'm guessing at a few things, but I'm going to do a bit of research tonight and see if I can come up with, if anybody's got any ideas for me to try. Ideally the ones that don't cost hundreds of pounds, but you know, we might have to, at the end of the day, if I put injectors in it and that doesn't fix it, at least I put injectors in it, and it's you know, you're going down the road of working your way through the injection system. Yeah, it gets up to sort of, I've kept it running for quite a while, and it got up to sort of half temperature and seemed quite happy. Oil pressure seems to, you know, sit at, I don't know, just under 4, something like that. And as soon as you rev it up, it blasts up, goes straight to the top, which is, I think it's meant to sit on 2 maybe when it's ticking over, something like that, which it probably would do if it ticked over. So yeah, if anybody's got any ideas what to try next. The problem is it smokes so much, I really need it outside. I need to blast it up and down the road and clean out the exhaust because it's got so much oil and stuff in the exhaust. It just fills the place with smoke. Probably going to take a while to burn all that fuel and oil and crap out of the exhaust that was on it. I did wash the exhaust out, but it's still not the same. You know, it's going to take a few heat cycles to clean it out. Ideally, I could get it so I could, you know, it ticks over, then I could just blast it up and down the road a bit and give it a bit of a run because it's taxed and insured, so I can clean out the exhaust and stuff, and you know, I will check the. I don't think the timing belts, there's any problem with that. The tension's still on it and stuff, and I've checked that loads of times before I put it back together, and it wouldn't run like it does if the timing was out. And I did. I mean, as you've seen on the video, the marks were marked the right, and I've checked it loads of times, so I don't think there's an issue with that. I know there's the auxiliary air thing can stick. I've got to see what the position of that should be, because it looked like you could, somebody mentioned you should be able to get like a pencil through it when the engine's cold, which you can. There is a gap there, not much, but there is a gap there. I really need to possibly might take that off and just sort of warm it up and see if it does do what it should do. But I don't see as that's because I have pulled the pipe off if it wasn't getting enough air. I don't know. I've got to research and understand a bit more how that works. I know this one is to do with the fuel. When the engine warms up, I think it richens it or weakens it. I can't remember which way around it does. I know they're expensive to fix and they're expensive to fix, but I think you can strip that one down. But I really need to work out where the position of that plate should be when it's sort of warmed up, which is what I should do. I think I'll do a bit of research tonight, but I'm happy that I've actually got the thing running now. I think the main problem is the injection system, to be honest. When I went to look at it and bought it, it did start up. It was on a high idle and it revved quite high, and it was just smoking like 1.0, because obviously the head gasket had gone. But it's hard to tell with that because there was a lot of vacuum pipes and stuff that were split and off and stuff. And I've had it all to bits and put all them back on in the right place now. So maybe that was why it was running before. Maybe pipes were off to help it run. And now I've put everything right, it doesn't want to run. I don't really know what's been done with it before, but yeah, we're kind of making progress. I'm happy that the engine's not knocking and it's not seized up or anything like that. It's not done anything stupid like that. But yeah, I have ordered a fuel pump relay as well. The one that's in it has got GM on it, so like General Motors. And I believe when that goes wrong, I read somewhere that when that goes wrong, it automatically just stays on all the time. So I can't see any bypass wires. I've looked at the back of the fuse, but I can't see any bypass wires. So hopefully I'm just going to change that relay, so then I don't have to have the bypass switch to switch the pump off and on. So yeah, that's it for now. If you're enjoying the vid, subscribe. If you know any ideas for me to try some stuff, give me a shout.